Hey everyone! Welcome to today's video. I had a few questions in the past regarding my expense trackers and how I budget in my bullet journal. So I will be showing an example of how I track my expenses and budget, but I just wanted to preface that I am by no means a budgeting expert and my process is very informal and casual. I'm not necessarily recommending this method by any means, but it's just what I've been doing for years. It's just my process, so I just thought I'd share it is all since I was getting some questions about it. I honestly don't know much about budgeting and finances, which is something I'd like to learn more about in the future. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. And really quick, I just want to apologize if you hear any construction going on in the background. They're doing some construction right across the street from my house, so unfortunately it's going to be pretty noisy, so I'm sorry about that. So I'm not going to be demonstrating my expense trackers and budgeting process in my actual bullet journal. For those of you who are new here, I use a B5 dotted Archer and Olive journal, but I will be demonstrating my process in my Notebook Therapy dotted journal. It is also a B5 size, so I'll go ahead and crack this open for you. So you'll notice that I have the month of June set up in here just as kind of a mock-up. I was planning on doing this video last month, but currently, as I'm filming, then July just started, so figured I might as well get this out now rather than any later. So if it's alright, I'm just going to still reference this just because I already made the spread and everything. But basically, my first recommendation would be to create a master bills list somewhere in your bullet journal, which I do have a little section for that in the very beginning of my bullet journal just so that I can reference. But because I've had those bills for years, I haven't really been accumulating new bills, then I pretty much have all of them memorized in my head, so I don't have to reference it as much as when I first got those bills. But regardless, I still think that it is a good idea to just write it down somewhere. So really quick, I'm just going to set up a master bills list on this page and I'll be right back. Hey guys, editing me here. So sorry that I spelled miscellaneous wrong. I totally had a brain fart while filming this, clearly, so please excuse the fact that it is wrong the rest of the video. So sorry. Alright, so I just wanted to keep this page very simple, very minimal, so I just went in with a Sakura Pigma Micron in the 08 size, created a thick border with rounded off edges, and then I just took a couple shades of my Tombow dual brush pens just to add a brushstroke behind the headings, and then I took my Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen and just hand lettered the title and the headings for each part. So just for a little bit of background behind my setup here, this may not apply to all of you, but my husband and I, then we each have our own personal account, and then we also have a joint account. So basically whatever bills regarding the house, like our mortgage, utilities, water, that would go under the monthly joint category. For my personal bills, for example, like student loans, phone bill, I will go ahead and write it down here under the monthly personal. And then just some miscellaneous ones, just because there are some bills that are either every 3 months, every 6 months, annually, stuff like that. So I also like to just keep track of that. Go ahead and just play around with a layout that covers all of your bills. I think my top priority when it comes to budgeting and expense tracking is making sure that I have enough for my bills. So I'm not going to be using like the actual amounts that I am responsible for every month, just I don't know, for privacy reasons. I'm kind of weird about that. So I'm just going to write down some examples really quick and then we'll go on from there. Again, just for teaching, explaining purposes, I'm just going to be making up some random amounts. These aren't going to be the actual bills that I am currently paying or the correct amounts by any means, just for example purposes. So for monthly personal, this is probably something that I would add as far as like music subscription, for instance, Apple Music. And then next to it, then I would go ahead and just write the dollar amount. So let's go ahead and say that that is $10 a month. Next, then let's go ahead and say that I also have a Netflix subscription. And let's say that that is $20 a month. Now let's go ahead and add student loans. And we can say that that's like $100 a month. And then let's go ahead and add a phone bill. And let's just say that that's $80 a month. And of course, if you have more personal bills, if you're not married and everything is coming out of your personal account, like if you're paying rent and utilities, garbage, etc., then you can go ahead and get rid of the monthly joint category and then just add on to the personal one here. But I think I'm just going to leave the monthly personal one like this for now and then move on to the monthly joint. So for this one, then I will go ahead and write down our mortgage. And with that, then we basically just split that in half. So let's say that the mortgage was $1,500 total every month. Then we would be responsible for $750 each. Then we'll go ahead and include water. Let's just say it's about $50 a month, so cut that in half. Then I'll be responsible for $25. So for the joint bills, then it would be half of what is due every month, just because I'll contribute half, my husband will contribute the other half. That's ideally how it would work. So water. We'll do electricity. Let's say that that is $100 a month. Split that in half would be $50. And then let's go ahead and do gas. Let's say that that is also $100 a month. So we'll do 50, so half of that. All right, so I think I'm just going to leave it there for the monthly joint, and then for the miscellaneous, I will use a real world example for this. For instance, waste pickup or our garbage pickup, then we get billed that every 3 months. So that's not a monthly thing, so I'll go ahead and write that down here under the miscellaneous. So I'll just put waste. And let's just say that that is $80 every 3 months. So there's that. And then if you have a personal and a joint account, then here you can indicate if it's coming out of the joint or the personal account. So for the waste, then since that is house related, then we will go ahead and say that it comes out of the joint. And then for car insurance, that one is due every 6 months for me, and let's just say that that is about $300 every 6 months, and that will come out of my personal account. Another thing that you may also want to add onto this list is if you have any hospital bills that you're currently paying off as well, if you have a payment plan for that. For instance, I'll go ahead and just add that to the monthly personal. And let's just say that that's about $100 a month too. All right, so at this point, then I would go ahead and add up everything from the personal and the joint together, because that'll give you your monthly total in bills. So after adding all of that up, then it comes out to be $1,185, so $1,185 a month in bills. So I'm just going to write that here to the side, and this is the point where I would factor in my monthly income. I have a full-time job, my husband has a full-time job, but at this point I'm not really considering his income. These are solely my responsibility to take care of, and this is also my half to take care of. So hypothetically, let's just go ahead and say that as a full-time job working 40 hours a week, I make about, let's just say, $2,000 a month. So I'll just go ahead and write $2,000 above the $1,185 here. And if you want, you can go ahead and label it just so it's not some random numbers. I always prefer to label my numbers just so that when I'm flipping back through my bullet journals and my notebooks, then I have some context of what these numbers are even in relation to. So let's go ahead and just say 2,000 income per month. And then beside the 1185, then I'll go ahead and just say monthly bills due. So with that, then I'll go ahead and subtract the 1185 from the 2000, and that will leave me $815 every month to save. Also use some for groceries, for disposable income. But with that being said, you also want to keep in mind the bills that are not monthly. It's important to just keep that in mind, basically what you have left to either save or use as disposable income. Ideally, in a perfect world, you'd want to be able to save that, but obviously things come up. This includes your gas, your groceries, if you have a family and you need to take someone to the hospital, or if someone needs new clothes, if something breaks down in your home or your car breaks down, if you have pets, stuff like that. So with that being said, then that's kind of my rationale behind my expense tracker and budgeting. If you wanted to include a couple more categories as far as budgeting, then I guess something that I would probably add to this page would be how much to spend on groceries, how much to spend on gas, how much do I want to try and save every month from this 815, stuff like that. You can go ahead and get more in depth with it, create more categories as far as budgeting, which is personally something that I would like to start incorporating more of. Hey again from editing me. I completely spaced on this while I was recording, but I just wanted to quickly share that something that I like to incorporate on the master bills list page are the actual dates of the bills. So for example, I would include like what day of the month the bills come out, and typically I would write that in chronological order so that I know to write them chronologically on the calendar as well. So I completely forgot to mention this point during the video, but I hope that that makes sense just in helping to organize your bills a little bit better in your bullet journal. But anyway, with that being said, I'm pretty much done with this page. Let's go ahead and incorporate that into how I would use it in my bullet journal. So moving on to the monthly spread. So assuming that this page is in the beginning of your bullet journal, then you can go ahead and flip over to it at the start of every month after you've set up your monthly spread. And this is where you can go ahead and add your bills. Let's say that mortgage is due on the 1st. And then let's say that water is due on the 10th. And let's say that electricity is due on the 20th. And I don't know, let's just say gas is due on the 15th. So that covers all of the joint bills. Let's go ahead and add the monthly personal bills. So let's say that Apple Music gets taken out, I don't know, every 5th of the month. And Netflix, let's just say it's due on the 17th. Student loans, we'll say that that is also due on the 20th. The phone bill, let's just say that that's the 25th. And then you have a hospital bill, let's just say that that's on the 13th. So at this point, I've only referred back to the master bills list. I've written down all of the bills for the month. And at this point, then this is also when I like to indicate what my paydays are. So let's just say, for instance, that I'm getting paid on Friday the 7th and the 21st. All right, so now that I have all of the bills and the paydays outlined on my monthly spread, then every payday that comes around, then I mainly use this brain dump box to figure out how much is going to bills for that pay period. So if I'm being completely honest and completely transparent, ideally I would have a lot of disposable income by the time I get paid again, to where I don't really keep track of my expenses so diligently. But there's been a lot going on these past several years. Everything is just way more expensive than it needs to be. So unfortunately, it basically is living paycheck by paycheck. Most of my paycheck goes to bills or groceries or gas or just keeping up with things around the house. So that's why every time a payday comes around, then I am immediately already doing the math, planning out the expenses for those 2 weeks until I get paid again. So with that being said, when I have these brain dump boxes on my monthly spread, then that's basically where I do all of that math. So I'll just show you a quick example of how I do that. So let's say that today is Friday the 7th. I just got paid this morning. So when I check my account, let's say that I got paid $1,000 and I had $100 in my account before I got paid. So I'll start off by writing the date, Friday, June 7th, and I'll start by writing 1100 at the top because like I said, I just got paid, which is $1,000. I had 100 still in my checking account previously, so now I have a total of 1100. Now I basically just look through the next 2 weeks until I get paid again, and I just take a look at all of my bills. The first bill would be the water bill, and again, we already split the bills in half over here, so these are the totals that I am responsible for. So for water, I'll go ahead and write 25 below it and just indicate that it's for the water bill. Next would be the hospital bill. So that's 100. Next would be gas, so $50 over here. Next would be Netflix, so that would be $20. And then electricity, which will be $50. Student loans will be 100. And the next day will be another payday. So these are the bills that I will be responsible for that pay period between the 7th through the 21st. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and subtract all of this from the 1100. All right, so after subtracting everything, then that leaves me with $755 left. So at this point then I would also consider groceries and gas and any other expenses, like if I need to get more food for my pets or something like that, if I need to go shopping, if I'm running low on shampoo or something. Just examples of stuff like that. So this is basically just an example of how I would use this brain dump area. If you've seen any of my previous videos, I usually have it covered up, but it's basically just always something that looks like this. That's basically all that I do for the monthly page and the brain dump box. Now I'm just going to turn the page and just show you how I track everything in my weekly spreads. Alright, so I've gone ahead and kind of just wrote out like a mock-up of the end of a week on this first page and just kind of wrote down like some random finances throughout the week as well. So let's just say that it is now Friday the 21st and I just got paid. Just to show you an example of my expense tracker, as you can see I already kind of messed up something that needed to be in the joint account. But anyway, so let's just say that this is how I've been tracking my expenses all week up until Friday. So as you can see, for example, I ended up with $405.41. So let's say that it is now Friday morning. I just got paid the $1,000. So I'll go ahead and write a new line for Friday the 21st. And then I'll add $1,000 and just indicate that it was my pay. So now I'm at $14.05.41. So it would be at this point in my weekly expense tracker that let's just say I transferred over $500 to the joint account. So that'll leave me with $905.41. And then with that, then I'll also go ahead and just add it to my joint account. So I'll again just make a new line for Friday the 21st, and then I will add that 500 down here. And then that day, as you can see, like I went to the grocery store and I ended up ordering some cat food and then ordered some pizza. So what I would do in my weekly expense tracker would basically just be to go down the line and add those charges as well. So let's go ahead and start off with the grocery one. Let's say that I spent $110 there or something. So I'll just write groceries, and then I'll also subtract the amount that I spent on cat food. So let's just go ahead and say that that was like $60. And then also ordered pizza. So let's say that that was $80. So I'll go ahead and just subtract all of that from the 905.41. So that'll leave me with 655.41. So that's kind of how I use my personal expense tracker. Same thing with the joint if I ended up charging anything on my joint account. But let's just say that this is all that we're going to be spending this week and it goes to the next week. So if I were to flip over to the next weekly spread, then this would be the end of that weekly spread. So what I would do at this point is when I'm finished with this week, I'll take the remaining total from all of the accounts here and then I'll just transfer it over to the very top of the next week. So that's for the personal, for the joint, and then if I had anything with credit. But yeah, once I've moved on to the next week and I've transferred over the remaining totals from the previous week, then I just do the same cycle again. Then if I spent anything during that week, I'll go ahead and write the date, the amount, and then the description beside it, and just keep like a running log of my expenses. Whatever amount is at the end of the week, then I'll just copy it over to the top of the next week, if that makes sense. That's basically my expense tracking process in my bullet journal. I know it may seem a little confusing and long-winded, but I really hope that I explained it in a way that kind of makes sense. By all means, if you still have any questions about this process, definitely let me know. I would love to hear your feedback because again, I'm probably like one of the last people you should come to asking for like finance and budgeting advice, but I try my best to still at least be aware of it. So yeah, I really hope that you found this video helpful nonetheless, and maybe if you were trying to figure out a way to better track your expenses in budgeting, hopefully this kind of helps you and you're able to find a way to integrate it into your bullet journaling process. So again, if you have any remaining questions, please let me know. I would love to hear from you guys. And yeah, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.